Hello everyone, this is Sachin Sawant, your UK immigration lawyer. Today I am going to talk about 5 challenges of a self-sponsorship skilled worker visa. I know I have been getting many inquiries on this. I've heard from other lawyers and I understand the whole structure, and I just wanted to discuss the challenges that an individual may face uh, at different stages of this journey. So, to begin with, if you wish to apply for a self sponsorship visa, uh, the term self sponsorship itself is quite vague and quite, I think Home Office may not like it once they come to grips with it. As with the care worker visa issue, also over the last 1 year or so, they saw that abuse. And if this situation of uh, self sponsorship being used for someone to come to the UK and use the skilled worker route comes to light, they may start making it more stringent, stricter. They may start controlling it. But still today, I think I know that individuals are doing it, lawyers are doing it. But then I just want to put across the challenges, the different levels of challenges that may be faced throughout the entire process. The first challenge is you would need an authorizing officer. So it is a local person. You cannot act as an authorizing officer on your own sponsor license. So ideally, the way it would be done is a company would have to be set up, a bank account would have to be opened. Usually, I think accountants usually act in your capacity, maybe adding them as some authorizing person in the company. But that is one challenge that usually individuals would face. You need someone local whom you are putting a lot of trust into, and they have control over everything, the company, the bank accounts, the finances, etc., etc., at least initially. Once you come to the UK, yes, obviously you can change that person. You become the authorizing officer once you are already on the skilled worker visa on that particular, under the cost of that particular license. You can do that. So that one challenge that usually you will see is getting an authorizing officer, a trusted one. That is at the first point. The second point would be funds. You would need to have, unless you have a proper business plan, funding, etc., you would need to have considerable amount of funds to show your salaries, to pay salaries to yourself. So that is one of the biggest challenges. Unless you are a high net worth individual or you have excess funds which you can use it to pay salaries to yourself, uh, considering the new changes that will come into play, 38,700, if anyone is trying to self sponsor themselves, uh, even someone who has come before the rules change, they would have at least be paying 26,600 or higher depending on their job code. So if I have to consider the current rules of 38,700 once they become live on 4th of April next month, so you will have to pay a salary of 38,700 at least to yourself over a period of 5 years. So it's not just for a month, 2 months, it's a whole 5 years till the time you reach your indefinite leave to remain if you do the self sponsorship. So that may be one of the hurdles where you would need considerable funding because you have to pay salary to yourself, pay taxes to the government. So on an average, I think 20% would go in uh, taxes or so. So you would definitely require funds to pay salaries to yourself. That is very, very important. So that is the second point that I want to point out, is about having sufficient funding to cover at least 5 years of salaries. Third, I know on the funding part, you may think of rolling over the funds, etc., etc. But if Home Office becomes aware of anything, if anything is seen in the bank accounts or anything, it may lead to revocation of the license. They would come to know that something is not right in the whole structuring. So be mindful of that. Thirdly, remember, the salaries will have to be paid every month. The taxes have to be reported and paid to HMRC every month. This may become a challenge if you are short on funding or anything like that. It is slightly tricky with the new salary requirement of 38,700 at least. If you have a genuine business, everything is fine. You start a business and all of that, and everything is moving on. You are making some profits, money on the business. Yes, that may work out. But if you are just thinking of coming to the UK, living here on that skilled worker visa for 5 years, it may turn out to be a challenging situation unless you really have strong funding to run your salaries every month, pay the taxes, and yeah, do this, have a continuity of the skilled worker visa. Thirdly, the visa fees. Ideally, anyone who is coming with a self-sponsorship, they would apply for a 5-year visa. If you apply for anything less than 5 years, maybe 3 years, 2 years, or whatever, you would require an extension. So the more often you go to home office for an application, the more possibility of you being checked, your sponsor license being verified, audited, remotely audited, or in-person audited, however that is. So be mindful of these things. These are different consideration. I just want to throw out that it is not as straightforward as it has been is being sold. I know I have seen many videos several places, TikTok and everywhere, even lawyers and other accountants and everyone. I don't know who all is involved in this. So people and agents are trying to sell this. Even I've got many inquiries, I don't know, from Middle East and everywhere. So everyone just assumes that I think these agents are just trying to sell. It's similar to that care worker fraud that happened where the course is being sold and no jobs and no hours for individuals. This self-sponsorship thing is being sold like left, right, center, I think so. So just I want to make everyone aware of these specific points. First was the authorizing officer. You need a trusted person in the UK. I know that agent or if whoever the person is representing you, they may find someone, but remember they are a responsible person for the business. They would have control over the business, the bank, the companies. They may be listed as a responsible person on the company's house, a signatory on the bank account, etc., etc. So be mindful of that thing. You are giving a lot of control initially, at least, on that person. Subsequently, if you remove that person, also the challenge is then you are on your own. If you don't have any settled person in the UK, British citizen or settled who has indefinite leave, uh, or pre-settled with European national, then you always have the challenge of disguised employment. So that is what you're trying to do. You're trying to just come to the UK to, that is what, if Home Office comes to know about this and you are the only person who has controlling interest, doing everything, there is no one else in the business, you have removed that particular person, whoever was the temporary authorizing officer, etc. It may look very fishy, and I'm very positive Home Office becomes aware of this at an audit or at a reapplication or when you ask for additional costs or whatever you do, any next step at any point, if they are looking through the information, documentation, or the facts, there may be challenges. It may end up in revoking the license, and yeah, Home Office has not come to grips with this one, but I am quite positive they will slowly get to it, because this is the second area which is being abused quite rigorously, I think so. So this is the third. So one point I said is authorizing officer, second funding, third running the salaries and paying the taxes every month. Fourth point, the risk of the sponsor license being revoked. The period is quite long. It's a 5-year period where you need to live in the UK, and 5 years is quite a long period of time. An audit or a check happening from the Home Office is quite likely over a 5-year period. If it was just a 2-year visa and you are getting an ILR, or 1 year or 3 years, 5 years is quite a considerable period of time that you need to maintain the sponsor license active, maintain the salaries running, and create a business also. You need to also show the efforts of the business being doing something. A business activity has to happen. You can't just come and sit in the UK. 100% sure, I am very positive. If nothing is moving in the business, no revenue coming, no efforts done, no advertising, or whatever is your business model, if nothing is happening, Home Office would be very apprehensive about that, and they may revoke the license. It is quite likely. So be mindful of that. The risk of revocation of that license is high. It's not that straightforward. Maybe for high net worth individuals, if they have more funds rolling around the funds, doing some business transactions of different businesses internationally that they may have, it may be possible. But if you are just an individual trying to move to the UK with this, it may not be that straightforward. Remember this. The third point is you cannot work anywhere else. So I know that the 20 hours is allowed other than your business, but the 20 hours is only allowed in your particular job code, whatever that job code you come into. You may not be, or in a shortage occupation. So that is what it is allowed. Technically, it may not be that easy for you you cannot just go in a shop or in retail and find a job. It may not be allowed because that is not the job code that you came to work in the UK. I'm quite positive if you're paid 38,700 or higher, you are not expected to be working a minimum wage job. That's number one. And even shortage occupation, uh, if you're not a nurse or a qualified doctor, I don't think you will go into that. Maybe care work visa, care working and all may be possible, but these are all whichever remain in the shortage or the immigration salary list, which whenever it comes, the new salary list that will be coming into play. So accordingly, I think the working rights will also change, but that is always tricky. You will not be able to make that much money to pay salaries to yourself by just working somewhere. So these are all the considerations that I wanted to talk about. First is the requiring a level 1 authorizing officer for the sponsor license, a trusted person, settled person in the UK. Number two, you need sufficient funding for your own salaries, up to 5 years of coverage at least. Thirdly, salaries and taxes. Taxes have to be paid every month. That may be the third challenge. Fourth is risk of the sponsor license being revoked over the 5 year period. Fifth, working in anywhere else, cannot work anywhere else. It is not that easy. You will not be able to earn somewhere else. Firstly, finding a job in different occupation code will not be possible other than a shortage occupation. That's number one. And the even if you work in the shortage occupation, it may not be enough to fund your salaries or something unless you have your own funds. So these are some of the challenges that I was just running through and I came across. I was running through the process and trying to see what there are many other challenges also, but these are the main ones that came to light, so I just wanted to highlight them. So if this video helps you, do subscribe to our channel, like this video and continue watching. Thank you.